we're just gonna.
You were muted. My fault. I switched screens without unmuting the mic.
I had a feeling that might have happened. I'm sorry. Okay, so we were muted before, and I said everything, and I'm sorry that you didn't hear any of that. But this is our first time streaming on YouTube, so please forgive all of the technical difficulties. We're just figuring this out. My husband Doug is behind the camera, behind our little teeny tiny kitchen island with the computer set up, and he's going to be monitoring the chat and everything. And yeah, we're going to make a really easy freezer meal that you can either do in a large batch if you're cooking for a lot of people, or that you can portion out in individual portions. And it's using some ingredients that a lot of people think they can't freeze. Basically dairy, cheese, and pasta. So we're making a baked mac and cheese recipe for the freezer. So you're not going to bake it before you freeze it, you're going to bake it from frozen, but otherwise it's a pretty simple recipe. This is Teeny Younger's kind of like viral TikTok mac and cheese. I made it around Thanksgiving. It's really delicious. It's been a long time since I've had it in my freezer, so I'm excited to make it, get some in my freezer stash, and have it to bring to like summer barbecues and things like that. So I don't know if there are any existing questions.
You do have one outstanding question from Debbie Haney.
Okay.
She's really looking forward to you going live. Are there any ingredients you generally avoid using for freezer meals? Not a new cook, but haven't used my freezer for cooked meals much.
I think one of the things that I avoid freezing is probably potatoes that are like stewed in something. So I've frozen potatoes as like mashed potatoes on top of a shepherd's pie before. That seems to work fine. I haven't tried freezing mashed potatoes just on their own. I don't really have a need to do that personally. But when it comes to something like beef stew, or if I was making, I've made like a soup that had chunks of potato in it, or a Japanese curry that has pieces of potato. When it's in a liquid and already cooked, it tends to reheat with a slightly odd texture that some people might find off-putting. So I tend to just avoid that for the most part. Hi, honey.
Just waving to your chat.
Oh.
Someone addressed me in particular, so I was like, I'll be cute and just...
And then other things, like what we're doing today is a baked pasta dish. Normally I don't freeze pasta if it's just like a spaghetti dish or something really simple. Because pasta cooks relatively quickly, I would normally make a larger batch of like sauce and freeze the sauce in individual portions or smaller quantities so that I can reheat that quickly. And basically in the time it takes me to cook pasta and boil water, I can have a really quick and easy dinner on the table. But unless it's like a leftover or something, I'm usually not going to make a full big batch, like a whole pound of spaghetti noodles with sauce, and freeze those, because starches tend to kind of reheat funny. It could get a mushy texture. So I don't have that issue with rice or some other grains, but with pasta, I don't have a problem when it comes to like baked things like mac and cheese or lasagna or baked ziti, but it's just not necessarily helping you with the convenience factor when you're gonna just boil it.
Your chat agrees it's a waste of space to freeze pasta.
I mean, I also think it's kind of a waste of freezer space depending on how big of a freezer you have to freeze like chicken stock on its own. I used to do that, and that was one of the first things that I froze in super cubes, but it was taking up so much space in the freezer because of how much chicken stock I would make at a time, that was the thing that got me to start pressure canning so that I could actually free up the freezer space. But that's a whole nother topic that I don't think we're going to get into today. But the recipe that I'm making is pretty simple. I already kind of started the water boiling here on the stove. We're going to use 1 whole pound of pasta, whatever you like for mac and cheese. This is cavatappi, so the kind of like twisty swirled noodles. I really like this. This is what Teeny specifically called for in her recipe. And it's just a fun twist, but if you prefer like regular elbow macaroni, that's totally fine too. I think our water is like almost boiling, but this is the shape of the noodle, so it's got ridges there, and it really does a great job of like clinging on to the sauce. Whenever you're gonna make something like this that's gonna get cooked again, whether you're freezing it or not, it's a good rule of thumb to kind of undercook your pasta. So on the bag, this says ready in 8 minutes. I'm probably gonna stop cooking it at about 6 and just undercook it by a couple minutes so that it doesn't get mushy when you go to bake it later. The most like labor intensive thing about this recipe, I think, is the fact that she recommends not using any pre-grated cheese. I just combined the word shredded and grated, and that was embarrassing. And I thought that I had a whole bunch of like the full blocks. The recipe calls for 8 ounces of mozzarella, I think 16 ounces of Colby Jack, and 8 ounces of sharp cheddar. I don't quite have all of those exact cheeses, but I feel like you just use what cheeses you prefer. I have a little bit of a smoked Gruyere. I have 1 block of sharp cheddar, about a half a block of mild cheddar, and then some Cooper Sharp American cheese that I picked up today, not at all for this recipe because I thought I had enough cheese for something else, but I don't have enough cheese, so we're gonna have to use this in the mac and cheese. But the good thing is that adding even a small amount of American cheese will usually help a cheese sauce be really smooth. So I'm not mad about that. I'm just mad that I thought I had more cheese than I did.
What you're making again?
Oh, we're gonna make baked mac and cheese for the freezer. So looks like the water is boiling, but I haven't salted it yet. So I'm going to just like heavily salt this pasta water, and then get our whole pound of noodles in here. And get that cooking. This mac and cheese is a roux-based mac and cheese, so the next thing we're gonna do is make a roux, which some people think is really complicated and intimidating, but I think it's one of those like basic techniques that once you nail it, like once you learn how to do it, it really opens up so many possibilities. You can make so many different like cream of this kind of soups. So many of those soups are thickened with a roux. And so a roux is just equal parts fat and flour. So the fat that we're gonna use today is butter, and then I'm just using an all-purpose flour. So it starts with 2 tablespoons of butter, and I'm gonna let that melt. And then once that melts, we're gonna whisk in equal parts flour. So I have 2 tablespoons of flour already measured out. That is going to be your roux, and then whatever like liquid you add to that will get thickened by the roux. And the liquid for this cheese sauce is heavy cream and a can of evaporated milk. I think the evaporated milk helps it to not get too watery. I just realized that I really should have grated all of this cheese before I started making this. So I'm gonna turn that off. Can you tell that I haven't done this yet? This is slightly embarrassing. Okay, let's get all of our cheese grated.
For the record, let's just own it. We started setting up for this like 2 hours later than we should have, and it's probably gonna show. Do you want me to stick this up on the other phone monitor and you can just have chat?
It's okay. I feel like if I had to focus on that right now with everything else, it's gonna be a bit of a mess, I think. So I'm happy to just listen to whatever you tell me is happening in the chat.
Oh God, she wants me to narrate.
Well, you're a great narrator.
Okay, let's see. Cat has said corn tortillas in Mexican casseroles didn't freeze well. For me, they kind of dissolved. Honestly, chat on my phone is easier than reading it in OBS Studio. I hate that.
Honestly, the corn tortillas, they kind of dissolved for me too, but I tested multiple different kinds and everything kind of dissolved, including the like store-bought frozen enchiladas that I got, you know, from Trader Joe's. So since that seemed to be an okay standard, I think I wrote it in the recipe that they aren't going to stay intact, but I prefer the flavor of corn over flour. If you would rather use flour, I don't know that flour would stay intact either, honestly, but...
This doesn't surprise me. Your husband's kind of corny. You're very familiar with corn.
Oh my gosh.
In other news, Leary has a dairy allergy, so
Okay.
they've never had mac and cheese.
Okay. Well, I'm
Amber
sorry that we're
Roberts-
making such a dairy-heavy recipe today.
Amber Roberts asked, have you ever been to the Amish cheese store in Lakeview? They have a lot of fun cheeses.
I have not.
And Amelia Bishop says, we've all been there, LOL, frantically grating cheese in the middle of a recipe.
I thought I was so good, actually, like, prepping out most of these ingredients. And I wanted to grate the cheese because such a big proponent of the recipe is the fact that you're supposed to shred rather, all of this cheese by hand. And like, the author of the recipe makes such a big deal about not using pre-shredded cheese because it has all of those like anti-caking agents that really prohibit like good melting, I think. So that was why I really wanted to do it on camera, but I'm realizing that like, yeah, it's time that I'm losing. However, I will say this rotary cheese grater, which I got on TikTok Shop because it felt like everybody and their mother had one all of a sudden, and I wanted to see if it was actually good, and I was fully prepared to hate on it, but it's so fast that I can't be mad at it at all, honestly. Okay, that's all the cheese that I have to shred, except for the American, which is in slices, so I'm just gonna kind of like layer that in. I'm handing this to you since I'm not allowed to cross this threshold.
Thank you. She went to the forbidden trash can once earlier, chat, and in so doing, she walked through the cord that's connecting the camera and the computer.
He was not happy with me. He's like, I just got all these settings, and then you just...
And then I had to like
Smash
reconnect
it.
the camera source, so her husband just came out and taped it up. She's not allowed to walk through there anymore.
There's literally caution tape between me, like just behind the camera.
You know, because I just have one of these lying around.
Alright, I feel like that didn't take up too much time. And our butter is melted, so that's a win-win. Although I did not set a timer for the noodles, so I feel like I need to test these.
Okay, your chat updates are as follows. Leary will look forward to having dairy in a future life. Debbie just crumbled tortilla chips onto the Mexican casserole when they heated it up.
That sounds delicious.
Leary commented that some people say to wash grated cheese, and
That's just, I've seen people like recommend the rinsing of pre-shredded cheese, and I'm like, at that point, what
just buy the block
what
and
are we
grate it
doing?
yourself.
That sounds ridiculous. Okay.
What else do we have? Debbie likes to grate their own cheese, especially in a dish when it's the star. Amelia thought grated cheese only had some cornstarch. They use cornstarch to dust their cheese before freezing it.
It's usually, it just depends on the cheese, but I think that you just get more flexibility, and it's often cheaper when you buy it in the block. Okay, the seasonings for this are smoked paprika, garlic powder, salt, pepper, and then in the recipe it calls for Dijon mustard. I'm trying ground mustard this time because the Dijon was just too pronounced of a flavor for me. But she recommends to take about half of the seasonings and put them in the roux and kind of cook those out.
Also, Pantry.
Thank you. Okay. I honestly do not remember if the recipe says evaporated milk or heavy cream first. But first I have to find the can opener that Doug bought me. There we go.
You need me to magnetize it.
No, it was hanging over here, but I kept knocking it down, so I put it in the drawer, but then there's too much other stuff in the drawer, so. Small kitchen issues, but I really wanted to get one of these, like,
sometimes old school is best.
old-fashioned can openers for things like this, because it's like, I don't need the can.
I don't need the whole lid off.
Yeah, I just need to be able to pour it.
Debbie has inquired, how often do you add meals to your freezer?
It really depends, honestly. If you don't know, my husband and I own a small business. It is a candle manufacturing company here in Grand Rapids. And just depending on the time of year, how everything is going, you know, I'm more or less busy. And then I also think that just like personally with my own ADHD and then just like being a woman and having different times in your cycle, you have different energy levels. So some weeks I'm like really motivated and I'm doing a lot. And then other weeks where, you know, eating almost entirely out of the freezer, or in the summertime we probably eat less out of the freezer just because it's too hot to want to eat, you know, soups and stews and cozy things all the time. So in that regard, we usually, you know, we'll have burgers or something quick, or sandwiches or hot dogs or a salad, something like that. Can you grab the colander?
I was gonna say, I think so, maybe? Hold on, let me look. Can I find it? It's here somewhere. I think I know what a colander is, but I'm not seeing the right shape.
I'm just like, I'm not timing the noodles. I'm gonna overcook everything and...
Amelia Bishop demands knowledge from you. Have you ever had dairy split when cooking? I never use cream because I get scared it'll split and ruin the dish.
Well, you're about to see me use a whole bunch of cream, so... Usually dairy will split because it's been either like heated too quickly, and so sometimes even when freezing and reheating, it might split a little bit because, again, it was just reheated too quickly. But I've made this recipe a number of times and I found that the cheese sauce tends to go back, you know, once you kind of mix everything together, even if it looks like there's a little bit of oil separation on top, it usually has worked out okay for me. But I prefer using heavy cream in overheat. Things that split, it usually is when you're using milk alternatives or things with like a lower fat percentage. But yeah, I'm not usually afraid of it, especially when that's what the recipe calls for. I feel like I just trust that it's been tested, and just go nice and slow, and it all seems to work out okay. But I also think that like cooking is one of those things that before I was making a lot of freezer meals or doing any of this kind of like cooking for the internet, cooking was always just my hobby. It was just something that I enjoyed doing, and it's the kind of hobby that is also a skill. So the more you do it, the better you get at it, and you can just practice and try things out, and that's one of the things I enjoyed about cooking. However, when I lived alone before we got married, the frustrating thing about experimenting was that either I was experimenting in really tiny amounts, which was fine, but then it meant that I was cooking all the time, or I would make a really big batch of something that either I didn't love or didn't really work out. So I think it just, you get more confident the more you do it.
You've also been accused of chaos cooking, which
Accurate.
sounds a little bit too orderly for how we operate.
I feel like that could probably describe most of my behavior, because I'm somebody who kind of just learned or like realized they had ADHD like much later in life. And it explained a lot. My husband was diagnosed when he was younger, and when we met, he was just kind of like surprised that I hadn't been, because there were so many things that were like very blatantly, obviously ADHD characteristics. So, okay, after you've added all the liquids and it starts to thicken up, you add the rest of the seasonings before we add our cheese. But yeah, Doug calls me a chaos gremlin. So
Only when I'm being nice.
I think that's accurate. One of the hardest things about creating content is the fact that like I have to be organized and clear my space and have good lighting and do it at a certain time of the day, and real life is just not like that all the time. Okay, so it's really starting to bubble and reduce. I'm going to let this reduce a little bit more and get a little bit thicker before we add our cheese. But we're going to turn the heat off for the cheese part.
Woohoo.
Are you just enjoying?
I'm having fun with your cat. I've added myself on the
old
only YouTube account I had, circa 2008 maybe? I don't know.
We need to make... the reason I didn't bother having making a separate account, officially a moderator for you, is because you were going to be on the back end of my account anyway, so...
Yeah, I'm a moderator now on my account. It's fine.
It's like I did it, don't worry.
It was suggested to me by your chat woman. These are your people who want power in my hands.
Okay, I just turned the heat off. I don't remember if this is as thick as it's supposed to get, but I remember the last time feeling like I had difficulty actually adding this amount of cheese. So the recipe says to add half of the cheese that you're adding. I'm going to add this in stages. So half goes into the sauce and the other half is supposed to be for layering. So if you're making it in one big casserole dish, you are supposed to layer half of your noodles and sauce down, and then a layer of cheese, and then the rest of the noodles and sauce. But since we are going to do these in super cubes, you just have to do it individually, which works out fine, but I feel like you use less cheese that way. It's just like less surface area maybe than a full casserole dish. So maybe that's why I wasn't too worried about not having enough cheese. Also, this flat whisk that I'm using, I would hold it up and show you, but it's covered in cheese. It's called like a roux whisk or like a flat whisk. Incredibly handy for this type of thing. I was just, okay. Okay.
In other news, I'm going to read you something, but I needed to get my face on camera so that if you kill me when I read it to you...
They'll know you're dead.
Amelia Bishop. To be honest, I prefer the YouTube videos to Instagram ones. We all like neatness, but often it's a bit eerie how unnaturally clean some kitchens are.
I agree.
You agree, but you still want the unnaturally clean kitchen for your videos.
Well, okay, it's not unnaturally clean. It's all there's unnaturally clean and then there's just like hygienic. I don't want somebody to ever come like I get comments all the time like clean your stove. And I'll reply, you clean it. Like because
like the shit on it is on fire. It's fine.
I am a messy splash things everywhere kind of person, so like things get messy, but I don't ever want somebody to not trust me because I'm doing something that is like not good food safety practices or good hygiene practices. So there's like a difference between, you know, clutter and I don't know what I'm trying to say. What am I trying to say, Doug?
That I want a cleaner kitchen than I have, and I will for the rest of my life.
We'll always want things cleaner, I guess. Okay, interestingly enough, the thing that seems to have had the most trouble melting was the American cheese, but I think that's just because it's like slices. However, I'm going to show you this because this is not a spoon, but this is like a very nice cheesy sauce. I'm very excited about this. Okay. Douglas.
Uh-oh.
Can you get me 2 1-cup trays behind you?
2 1-cup trays behind me.
That's one, sure. He's like, I'll hand you one.
I'm like, they're all stacked. I need to excavate one.
They're not organized.
That, if I could do it with my phone and just post a picture, I would. I'll just leave that where you can find it.
Do they want to see a picture of all the super cubes? You can't hear me, can you?
I can definitely hear you. What volume is in the pan you have the sauce in?
What volume size is the pan?
What volume is the pan? Sorry, I skimmed it off my phone and may have missed words.
It's okay. I want to say it's a 3.5 quart saucier. Hold on. The things we do for you. It is a 3.5 quart saucier. This is the only Le Creuset pan I own, and I put it on my wedding registry because most of my stainless steel pans are either all clad, and if they're all clad, they were also on our wedding registry, or Cuisinart. But this one, I think it won America's Test Kitchen's pick for a saucier, so it's got like sloped sides. It's shaped like a bowl. So for anything like this where you're whisking constantly, or if you're making risotto and you're stirring constantly, it doesn't have those hard like corners. So I really, really love it. I think it's wonderful. Oh my gosh, this looks so good just like this. Okay.
Just for the record, I've been corrected. I added words, which, you know, that tracks ADHD. On brand.
Okay. It's very good. The flavor is good. And the noodles are not cooked all the way, which is perfect. I was really worried because I wasn't paying attention that was going to be a problem, but it's not. So, part of the other thing I think that adds to the whole chaos cooking of it all is the fact that, like, this is the counter space in our entire kitchen. We put a little tiny island here, but it's really small. We're trying to get a larger one, but it's not.
Yeah.
If we do that, we will
not pick it up and show people.
No, it's okay.
Laptop.
It's a small little, like.
I'm gonna show you guys a laptop. It's like, you know, here on the island.
But the island is like a little kitchen cart. It's not really big. The whole kitchen is very small. So this is like where I film is a good amount of like my general like cutting space, working space. So it makes everything feel really hectic because
Rachel has joined the chat.
it is really hectic. Rachel. Okay, mix the rest of this cheese. Rachel also can't have cheese, so she's not going to be happy that this is what we're making. Sorry, Rachel. Okay. Last time I made this recipe, the 1 pound of pasta like perfectly filled 2 1-cup trays, or made like 8 cups of mac and cheese. So I'm doing my best to like half fill these.
Debbie has asked whether you reheat from frozen or thaw first. The lady, I believe it's Katie, but don't kill me if I mispronounce that. She asked about the pan.
Oh.
She has an all-clad 2-quart, but she's looking for a larger one. I also want to use it as a small wok.
Yeah, this would kind of work for that. So this shape of pan is called a saucier pan. Saucier, like the term for the French kitchen job, like the person within a French kitchen who makes sauces. Why are you laughing at me? No,
I'm
you're
not laughing at you.
chat.
I'm laughing at your friend Rachel, who went, quote, "Just here to support, drooling though." For the record, I whipped out my handy floor plan app, guys, and our kitchen is 127 square feet. Of that, like, 4 are countertop. I hate it.
It's fine. It does what it
We
needs
made
to
it work, but it's like an Airbnb kitchen in that, like, there isn't enough space to do anything. Fortunately, though, we have 3 times the equipment to do everything.
Doug used to say I registered for like my forever kitchen, but we don't have forever kitchen space. So, and he's probably right. Alright, so you're doing a layer of cheese in between. And to answer the previous question, because
Off the top of my head, Amelia, it's roughly like 3 feet in a meter.
you asked me someone's question and then you just kept talking.
You're rubbing off on me.
Usually we end up reheating from frozen, mostly because I'm very bad with time management. So like remembering to defrost something overnight, defrosting in the fridge takes a lot longer than you think it does. So I usually don't remember. But baking from frozen, it just takes a little bit longer. When it comes to something like I've frozen leftover lo mein, like Chinese takeout, that's one thing that I found was definitely better if I let it thaw in the fridge, but it takes like more than a day, honestly. Alright, so we've got our layer of cheese, our last layer of noodles. And then whatever remaining cheese we have to go on top. Oh my gosh, perfect fit here.
Kim has also joined to support. She loves your channel and was inspired to do the cube method. It's working great so far.
Hey.
One of Sarah's love languages is words of affection, so I'm always going to read those things out to her because it makes her happy and feel loved.
Why did you do that voice? Okay. So, 1 pound of noodles. Like I said, pretty much a perfect fit. I don't know that these are all like the most evenly distributed, but that's okay. We don't have to be perfect over here. And then just a little bit of cheese on top.
Leary has commented that her cooking always takes forever. This is such a quick meal. Amelia has added, yup, I tried to thaw my chow mein as well, but it was way too slow. Ended up heating it up from nearly frozen and was mushy.
Yeah, I don't know why the noodles like that are different than other things that are fine from frozen. Okay. No more shredded cheese. The last one just gets a piece of American on top. Not great, but okay. One of the things that I love, and yes, this is a pretty fast, you'd have to bake this after, otherwise it's a pretty quick meal in general. One of the things I loved about this, the first time I made it, was when I was going to reheat it, it was really easy to add other things to it. Like if I wanted to make this truffle mac and cheese, I had this like truffle seasoning, truffle salt that I got from this local business. I just like mixed in a little bit of that. Thank you. I know I'm sweating.
I'm more worried about you losing fluid from so much airflow through your mouth because I know how bad that gets.
But it's really easy to like add other flavors to this. If you wanted to make this like a chili mac and you had some frozen chili, you could easily mix those two things together. It's a great side, even with just like frozen chicken nuggets or...
The bottom message is new.
Nice. It's funny you say that because I'm actually going to be making a butter chicken chickpea recipe soon because one of my friends started this company and she has a butter chicken like blend, spice blend, and they made butter chicken chickpeas on her channel to kind of show how to use it, and I just thought it looked so good. Okay, so these just get covered and then they go in the freezer. I'm gonna label and date these. And yeah, that was pretty fast.
VRO has jumped in and said, hey Sarah and chat, I didn't realize you were live. And that's probably because this is new and we're fumbling our way through it. Surprise!
Yeah. We are just figuring it out. Plus we just got I just reached the level on YouTube where you're able to like monetize on live, where people can do super chats and things like that. So I figured it was a good time to start testing it out, and it was a way to like get watch hours up so that we can reach the next level of monetization. But one thing about YouTube is that I'm like very good now at editing short form video for TikTok and Instagram, but a YouTube video that is like a full cooking day is so much footage, it takes me forever to edit. And the other day I filmed a whole day. I just got back into it, and then I was like importing the footage to my computer, and I realized that my microphone was muted the entire time. So the whole video, the whole day has no sound. except for a little outro I recorded at the end once I realized what was wrong. So I have to edit that again, but it's going to end up being a full voiceover episode because, yeah, there's no sound, so there's nothing I can do about that. But I'm going to put this in the sink before this starts to kind of like congeal. And then if you guys have any more questions before we wrap this up, I think we want to start doing these more regularly, but we're just not sure yet. We're going to see how it goes.
Does the spice blend have dairy?
The spice blend for the butter chicken? No.
I would assume so.
It shouldn't. It's just spices, so it's coriander, garam masala, cumin, paprika, garlic, black pepper, ginger, turmeric, dried fenugreek, cardamom, cinnamon, cloves, citric acid, rice concentrate. So it's dairy-free. It's also salt-free and free from any heat, so that you can add your own levels of salt and you can also add your own level of spiciness, which is one thing I think people are really going to like. A lot of seasoning mixes come with salt in them, so there's no way to adjust the salt for either your taste or your health concerns or anything like that. And then people are always concerned when they're getting started making Indian recipes that they're going to be too spicy, and what happens if they don't like them? Well, this doesn't have any chili pepper in it, so you have to add that to your spice tolerance level after the fact.
Okay, everything from Amelia is new. Everything below that. Good luck.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah.
Should I hold it under the camera for you?
No, I just...
Would that be better?
I'm the one who made you try butter chicken, but I opted for the jarred and the fenugreek seasoning. I didn't get along. I use the fenugreek in... My recipe is not using this blend. My friend just sent this to me. So my recipe, you're basically buying all of the spices separately. And garam masala is a spice blend, but my recipe uses fenugreek in both the marinade and in finishing the sauce. I think it's kind of a flavor, like, I felt like my recipe didn't taste like takeout that I enjoyed until I got the dried fenugreek or the kasuri methi leaves. They have this, there's nothing else that I really feel like substitutes for that particular flavor. But if you don't like it, I guess you can leave it out. He's typing now. I'm gonna go put this in the sink. I wonder if they can hear the fan, the industrial fan that you just turned on.
I don't know that it's any louder than the baseline noise in here was.
Okay.
Someone will probably tell me. Or tell you, really. I'm just sort of here.
Oh, fenugreek is related to the peanut family. I had no idea. That's good to know, though, because my brother-in-law... Well, actually, my brother-in-law has had my butter chicken. My brother-in-law has, like, a deathly, like...
Super allergic.
Peanut allergy. But he has had my butter chicken recipe multiple times, and I don't think I had an issue with it, but that's interesting. I will do more research. It's audible, but not disturbing. Thank you guys so much.
Okay, less audible, hopefully. I don't know, I don't think it's that much louder than, like, the air conditioner in the room closer.
No, I think it's fine. It definitely helped, like, cool things down a little bit. I had thought about bringing it in here, but I know how loud it is. Mm-hmm. Or just, like, opening a window or something while we were cooking, but that's the thing. When you're cooking, it gets warm in your kitchen. That's the thing that happens when you turn your stove on and you're boiling water, and it's okay. It's just a part of normal life.
Applying heat to the things you're trying to make hot. Huh, some of that heat gets out and about.
We definitely want to do more lives. I think it's really fun. I think it's a fun way to engage with people. And
it's now Q&A hour with Sarah.
Have you tried Lebanese lentil soup? I have not tried a Lebanese lentil soup recipe before. It's funny, I was looking at lentils at the store today and thinking I wanted to start figuring out how to incorporate them. It's not something that I use a lot in my cooking, but it's something that gets brought up a lot, especially as a cost-saving budget measure. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about is teaching people how to stock a pantry, how to, when you're getting into different kinds of cooking and you're learning and you're experimenting, especially when you try something like, oh, I want to make this butter chicken recipe for the first time. It can be really overwhelming to have to go buy all of these spices, and it can feel really expensive, and sometimes that is a deterrent to people trying something new. So I think when you're learning a new cuisine or you're just starting to add to that section of your pantry, do it like one cuisine at a time. If you're really going to get into Chinese cooking, there's a group of sauces that once you have those in your pantry, you can make most things pretty easily, but you kind of have to build it up over time. So that's definitely something I want to talk more about, because especially if you live alone or if you just moved in and you're setting up a kitchen for the first time, spices, seasonings, sauces, all that stuff, it really adds up and it feels really expensive, but then it feels discouraging to try to cook because you're like, it feels like it costs so much more money than it does. Yeah.
Two more at the bottom.
I've heard that you can just add lentils to any meat sauce or chili or something, so that's definitely a good way to do it. Oh, thank you. I don't know if it's pronounced VRO or just VRO, but I think so many people found my content because of Super Cubes, and I'm so happy to be able to share with people because it truly changed my life and our life. It made it so much easier when he wanted to eat something different than what I wanted to eat. We could pull different things out of the freezer, so it's been really wonderful. And then being able to share and have this content creation journey has also been really wonderful, and I'm really enjoying it a lot. It's just about finding the time in our life to do it and prioritizing our schedule to make it work, I think.
And the whole not cooking for a family of 7 anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the oldest of 5 kids, so when I learned how to cook, it was you're always making a ton of food. You were always making leftovers. I didn't really know how to cook for one person, so I had to figure that out. I would say, am I primarily self-taught? I would say I learned a lot about cooking from my mom, but but I would say that I'm a better cook than my mom now.
Do you want me to say the quiet part out loud?
No, it's okay. My mom definitely got us into the kitchen early, and especially me being the oldest, I was the one who was always helping. But I also was only allowed to watch PBS when I was younger, and so once any children's shows were over, what was on was cooking shows. And so I just watched a lot of cooking shows on PBS. And she has videos of me when I was 4 or 5, just talking to myself in the kitchen, pretending I was on a cooking show. So it's definitely always been something that I was really passionate about. And then in my 20s, I learned a lot about food and nutrition, mostly because I was always trying some different diet. I was vegan for a while. I was raw vegan for a while. Then I was on keto in my early 30s, and I was always trying to come to food. I felt like my love for food was something I had to apologize for. It made me, I don't know, there was something wrong with it. There was something wrong with enjoying cooking and enjoying food. And diet culture played a big role in that, but it taught me a lot about different flavors and different styles of cooking and different ingredients. And then I just kind of started to just approach food as not having moral value, not assigning, oh, this is something that's good for me to eat or something bad to eat. It's just food, and it's something that I enjoy. It should be nourishing, and it can be more decadent or luxurious, but there's nothing, you know, wrong with either one of those things. So yeah.
I have now just propped my phone up where she can see it, so Sarah's pretending to be me and I'm pretending to be Sarah.
I think they're mostly just like talking. Yeah, raw vegan was really tough. It wasn't that bad, but I lived in New York City at the time, and there was like a lot of juice bars. There were a lot of raw places. But the only diets that ever worked for me were the extreme ones. And really they were just eating disorders like masquerading as healthy diets ultimately. So thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, somebody left a comment on one of my videos the other day asking if I had the macros for a recipe that I made, and I just said no. But also, like, you could easily put these ingredients in a macro calculator if that's what you want to do, bro. Like, I don't care. I was like, no, I don't know.
Doesn't matter to me. Do your own homework.
The protein content of this. But I had somebody send me a DM a couple months ago after I did an Instagram live, because a lot of my Instagram and like TikTok videos, they don't show my face, so people don't know what I look like necessarily. But I did an Instagram live and I was talking about not, you know, having some imposter syndrome, and she sent me a DM and it was just like something along the lines of just being so happy to see somebody who was just talking about food as food in like a neutral way, not, oh, this is good for you, or this is good for this thing, or bad for this, you know, just like, food is food, you just enjoy cooking and you want to learn how to cook. And I feel like a lot of the content creators, a lot of cooking content creators that I followed over the years who talk about food in that kind of way, of like a neutral way, of just like, well, you want to learn how to cook, you want to get better at this, you want to become a better home cook. A lot of those people were men. And all of the meal prep, freezer meal content were women with large families. So I didn't really see myself and somebody who is like a total food nerd and loves cooking and loves getting better at it and all those things, and then somebody who was cooking for 1 to 2 people. Like, I didn't see myself represented. So
hey, what's the one link I didn't prep in advance?
Simply Curated. Our candle company. Oh. Yes, sorry. This is one of our products. This is the botanical collection. So all of the candles are screen printed with a floral.
I didn't prep the link in advance, but I got a candle ready when she talked about it earlier, and I was like, that might come up. They
are wood wicks, and this is a screen printed like rocks glass. So when your candle is done, it becomes reusable barware that is dishwasher safe. So, but yeah, I've had that company for 12 years, and is there one in there?
I don't think so.
I think we took them back the other day, like a bunch of them. Oh, are they up there? Top of the fridge?
I mean...
Oh, there's like dirty ones.
Dirty ones that aren't screen printed?
Oh.
I'll get you dirty ones.
No.
Dirty ones are fine.
Okay, this is one we haven't cleaned all the wax out of yet, but you get the idea. This is a different pattern.
You throw it in the freezer overnight, or you hit it with a little boiling water and just scrape out the excess wax, and it's reusable drinkware.
They are 100% soy wax. I'm very sensitive to fragrance, so I used to think that I hated scented candles, and none of these bother me. So that's just been my job most of the time. And this last year of doing content creation, really like the last 6 months that it really like ramped up, it's just been interesting because somebody asked, one of our friends who has a local store in town asked me why I don't like talk about the candles to the almost 200,000 followers I have on all of these platforms. And I just said, that's not why they follow me.
That's not what they're
That's
here
not
for.
why they're here, and I don't want to like
get
ever ruin that trust by just like coming in to sell you something that you weren't expecting. But I appreciate you asking.
I also give her a hard time and go, talk about the sensitive sniffer issue. Because that's really important. Everybody has at least one friend who is sensitive to fragrance, and like you get in an Uber, they go, oh, I'm going to have a headache.
Yeah, I can't take taxis, like, it's so risky. Okay, I'm glad somebody asked about the Ninja Creamy, because I was actually wanting to prep some Ninja Creamies on the live because I thought that could be good to do. Can you grab me one of the strawberry milks from your fridge?
Strawberry milk. Okay,
yeah.
Not what I thought you were asking for.
Okay. I don't know what you thought I was asking for.
Containers.
Oh, they're down here. No?
I do not remember where they are, which is why I walked into the other room and looked confused.
Okay, another thing about our freezer is that I really only have room for two trays at a time, which means in order for these to go in the freezer, we're going to have to unmold these two, which is, I guess, something we can do on live. Thank you, honey.
Better do it on live than on deaf.
I made a batch of sofrito the other day. This is a seasoning blend that I use in a lot of my cooking. This is what I filmed on the video that doesn't have any sound.
Ah, yes, that video.
So you'll see that later. But it'll be very different. But yeah, somebody said that there wasn't a lot of other people using super cubes on YouTube. And
yeah, she's going to voice over that video. It's just somewhat depression-inducing in the meantime, because she did narrate all of it as she went through it.
It was just so sad once I realized that it didn't have any sound. It was just such a bummer. Oh wait, I can do this in the quart size bag. I forgot. Hold please.
Do you want me to flip over to the other thing? I don't even know if that'll update the stream, but we can try it.
No, it's okay. It'll be 2 seconds. You can entertain them.
I can entertain them. What do you think I'm going to do? I don't know how to juggle.
It was literally 2 seconds.
And see how unentertained they are? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we banter back and forth like this all of the time. This is not special for the live. We both work for the same candle company. We both live in the same house. We spend like 20 of our hours together all of the time.
People always used to say to me, I could never work with my husband. I'm like, that sounds like a you problem.
My favorite one was when we got married. Like, the number of people that told us marriage is hard, I had no idea so many people struggled with it. In other news, Amelia realized how high your tolerance for cold is. I need to take breaks every 5 seconds when unmolding.
I get comments about that all the time, and I don't know. It doesn't seem that cold to me, but maybe I really have like built up a tolerance for it.
The flip side is also that like our tolerance for heat, both of us, is not fantastic.
For what?
Heat.
Oh. Hence my extremely red face and. All right.
You want me to ice that for you?
Now we've got no. Well, somebody said that it was hard for them to get the cubes out, and I've also never experienced that. So I don't know. Guacamole. We're gonna put these in the little stasher reusable bag.
Leary has been using their half-cup molds for large ice cubes, and I think we've done that before, but they barely get into our water bottles. Also, I bought a counterfeit. I bought 2 countertop ice makers in my life now.
Of course, I drop one on the floor. That never happens.
Trash, compost, sink?
I think compost?
Okay.
Not sink, I don't think. But they
Yeah.
fit. This is the snack size stasher bag. And these are the 2 tablespoon cubes, which are the most like ice cubes.
Debbie also asked, is your refrigerator freezer the only freezer you use?
It is.
And the answer is kind of.
Okay, well, we've got a little freezer in the office, but not really. I don't really use it that much
You
anymore.
don't freeze stuff there, but frozen stuff can go there as overflow storage.
Yeah, the thing is that I've thought a lot about getting a standalone freezer.
I've encouraged it.
For our apartment, it would have to live in our dining room. And I also don't know how that would change the flow of the content that I'm making. Like to a certain degree, I think that what I make is very... I'll look at it in a second. I'm answering a question. I think that it's very relatable to not have a ton of freezer space and not have a second freezer. So I like that restriction. But when somebody asks how often am I batch cooking, I think it would be a lot more often if there was more space. But also it's summer and we're gonna have garden produce, so I think it'll eventually happen. How do you like the silicone bags? I only have that size stasher bag right now. I want to experiment more with some other sizes. I like that one, but eventually I could see how bigger sizes, just because of how thick the stasher bags are, would take up more room in the freezer, and I don't know how I feel about that. I just got the 2-cup super cubes. Do I use this trays for anymore? Yes, Leary is right. I use them for Asian pear. I also use them for sofrito sometimes, but I realized that so many of my recipes use 4-6 tablespoons of sofrito, so freezing them in the 1/2 cup just made more sense for me. I use it for freezing, if I open a can of chipotles and adobo, I'm not going to use the whole can. I freeze those in there. It's really great for tomato paste. But yeah, when I get an Asian pear, I'll buy 3 of them. I will grate them, and then I freeze the grated Asian pear in the 2 tablespoon trays to use for my bulgogi marinade, because that's really the only thing that I use it for. And sometimes it's the only ingredient that I'm missing, so it's been really handy to have that on hand. I think I might need to restock that soon, actually. I'll have to check. I'm planning to do a freezer organizing video and maybe switch around how I store some things. But we were gonna make some Ninja Creamies, and we've really been enjoying it. But one thing I will say that has been a little bit difficult is that so many of the Ninja Creamy recipes are protein ice cream recipes. They're not traditional ice cream recipes, and I wanted to a traditional ice cream base. I wanted to make real ice cream or real sorbet with real sugar in it, and it works really well for that. But someone recently gave us some strawberry milk, which is not something we would normally ever purchase.
I don't think I've bought strawberry milk in my life by intention.
So yeah, I was gonna do a strawberry flavor with this and a little bit of half and half, and then we've been making a coffee ice cream with Jot. Coffee ice cream is one of my favorite flavors, but we make it a peppermint mocha coffee ice cream.
Peppermint or any kind of mint is one of my favorite flavors.
So I use the mocha Jot, and then just peppermint extract and sugar and half and half. Most ice cream recipes call for heavy cream and milk. Some call for eggs, and I've definitely made a custard recipe with eggs before. But I find that the Ninja Creamy does okay without the eggs as a stabilizer. It definitely gives a different flavor. But they're really easy to prep. The annoying thing is you just have to freeze for 24 hours.
Yeah, so you have to know what you want in advance.
Yeah.
Now, you told me to entertain your chat a minute ago. Are you ready for me to entertain your chat?
Oh boy.
So, the thing about Ninja Creamy is if you want unique flavors, it's great. If you're just going to make like chocolate and stuff, it's probably easier to just go buy it somewhere. Like when you calculate the time, the space in the freezer, the amount you're spending on the different materials to process it into either like frozen icy or traditional ice cream, or like if you need that granular control, it's great. If you're like, give me Rocky Road, it's not the greatest thing for you. Debbie Sarah is putting a mixture of components into one of the Ninja Creamy freezing containers.
This is gonna be too much because I didn't put the sugar in first, so I'll have to take some of it out. But the Ninja Creamy is basically like an ice cream machine, but instead of slow churning the mixture, it freezes it solid and then like
do you want me to bring it over?
Shaves it down. No, it's okay. I have some videos on my page. I'm gonna make a longer form YouTube video about it. I was just waiting until I felt like I got some good consistent recipes for it. But one thing is that the freezer dulls the flavor of things. So you want things to be a bit sweeter and a bit more intensely flavored than you think before they get frozen.
We did like a mango mocktail one the other night, and the way it turned out, I'm going to say it tasted a lot like an Italian ice that somebody extracted all of the joy from.
There's a partially frozen one in there if you want to grab that.
In where?
In the freezer. There's a frozen one that's like half full that you never finished.
What? What's this? How did this get
That's
here?
the icy one that you didn't finish because you didn't
Oh,
like it.
right, the depression. This looks like peaches.
It's not peaches. It's the.
I don't know. Am I in the frame?
It's the guava one.
I'm sort of in the frame. So, one of those, minus the lid, goes in your weird wackadoodle coffee mug here. And it's notched on the bottom so it sets in and stays there. But the top has a blade inside it. I hope that's probably visible. Anyway, you lock it in, latch it down, and it will pump the blade up and down on a spindle through it and basically blend. Blend is the wrong word, but like
Yeah, it's like scraping it little by little. Like it's like a combination of like a blender and like a shaved ice machine. I don't know how else to describe it.
drill press.
It technically,
it's like an
it's like a
drill press.
But when you look up recipes for it, you mostly find people making like Fairlife or just all of the healthier, low calorie. Not that there's anything wrong with that. You can totally just like I've put some canned peaches and canned pineapple in it, and it's been absolutely delicious. But yeah, you can definitely do some real ice creams with it that I feel like really stand out. So I'm putting a little bit of vanilla bourbon vanilla bean paste, and I put a little chocolate syrup and some instant coffee in addition to the Jot to just like intensify the coffee flavor, because again, like I said, it kind of dulls the flavor of everything.
Pulverizes it is a really good explanation, but the way it works kind of like a drill press is every like revolution it goes down by 1/14 of a centimeter or something, so it blends really well, but it also sounds like you have an aircraft in your kitchen and it wants to leave.
Yeah, it's gonna take flight at any point. All right, we don't have room in the freezer for these.
Hey!
We can probably put these somewhere else. Okay, so for the strawberry milk, I am just gonna do a little, like the rest of this container of half and half. I probably should do a little bit more half and half, honestly. But I don't know, let's just try just the milk and see what that comes out to. And then some frozen strawberries.
So the Ninja Creamy needs everything to be frozen solid for it to go through and do its choppy routine.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Which is the difference between that and a blender. Your blender doesn't really care, but the Ninja Creamy is like, oh, if one of these things is solid and the rest is not, this is going to get messy.
So yeah, it's recommended that everything is frozen for a full 24 hours.
And the milk's still good?
Huh? Smells fine.
Okay.
It's definitely past the best by date though.
I was going to say, it's been kept near frozen. Sarah has the entire refrigerator to herself. I have a little mini fridge in the back room where I keep drinks and occasionally snacks of some sort.
It's not as pink as I thought it was going to be. But it's still pretty sweet, so I don't feel like it needs any extra sugar. Okay, we got those made. Thank you, whoever asked about the Ninja Creamy, for reminding me that I wanted to do that.
That it exists. Those ADHD object permanence things, you know.
Oh, Amelia, it's almost 2 a.m. there. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it.
Europe, I believe.
And yeah, it's funny because I know that there are people tuning in California, and then somebody said not too late for Europe, and I was like, okay, those are two very different things, but I really appreciate you guys being here and checking out our first stream. And if you have ideas for other streams, or if we should just do like a full Q&A one where I'm not cooking, I'm sure you'll let us know. You can either leave a comment on this video or send me a direct message on Instagram. And yeah, we appreciate it so much. Thank you guys for hanging out with us in our kitchen.
Sounds great. Bother her, please leave me alone.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.